your trusted government officials and media controllers do not want you to know about. Welcome to this live original edition of Deadline Live. It is the 24th day of February 2010. I'm Jack Blood, your narrator, your radio gun, reporting for the next 2 hours. That's right. I am a narrator. Here I try not to take sides on things. I try not to get involved in petty squabbles. I try not to get to a point where I can't focus on what we need to do to fix this republic. Today, unfortunately, I'm going to have to delve into the manure, and I will apologize up front about that. Before I get to all of that, I'll tell you plenty of blame to share. The fact that I'm having this conversation on a national radio program, I guess international if you count everybody around the world listening to us today, is not what I want to do. 1 week before the election. What I wanted to do was to support a freedom candidate against two Bilderberg candidates. What I did not want to do, did not want to end up being a pariah for trying to do this, take down these Bilderbergers. So 2 for 1 on that one. You get Medina, you get me too. And there are people here in Texas that have been trying to put me out for years. One of those people is Alex Jones. Now, I've kept my mouth shut. I have taken the high road every single time. I have never used my show or my website to attack other activists of any kind, whether I disagree with them or not, or whether they have been actively out working to blackball me or not. I kept my head down and kept my work going and tried to be cheerful and positive and inspiring as much as I possibly could while giving you the information that you need to talk to your loved ones, your coworkers, people on the street. To report the news and to break down and decode the news in a way that I didn't feel a lot of people were doing. We still feel that we are a necessary part of the freedom movement. But now I find myself in the unusual position of having to hit back. Because I do not agree with the last 24 to last 48 hours of brutal attacks against Debra Medina for not answering the question, for agreeing with a neocon and trying to get herself back on message and back on track. Now, if you've not heard of any of this, again, I hate to have to talk about it, but I'm going to spend at least the first part of the show doing it. I'm going to take your calls, 512-879-3805. I'm not asking you to take sides. See, that's not something I do. That's something that people like Alex Jones do. If you're not with us, you're with the terrorists. If you don't do everything I say, if you don't make sure I'm number one, if you don't answer every call, if you don't do everything I say, I'm putting you out. And let me tell you, folks, that's exactly what happened to me 2 years ago at Edna Lane Brown's front yard. When I got a call from my wife, she said one of our friends had been put out of his house. The sheriffs had come, put him out of his house. He had nowhere to live. Now, I don't know what you would do if you got a call like that, but I assume many of you big-hearted patriots, would take the person in. Would not turn your nose up to him and shut your door in his face. Now, of course, I'm on the ground in New Hampshire. And I say, yes, by all means. We got you. Which is what I try to do for my friends. I was told by Alex Jones, in no uncertain terms, that I was not allowed to do this because he had a problem with this person who was one of his former employees. And that if I did that, I would be cutting my own throat. Now, this is a guy that for the last few years had called me late at night and talked about how we have to get people that don't agree with him. What we can do behind the scenes to attack people in the liberty movement and take them out because they were causing him due grievance. Because they were somehow tearing down his operation, that he felt threatened by them for some reason. And a lot of times it was just because they didn't follow orders. They didn't worship enough. These are people that go around calling each other Lord all the time. It's real funny. One night I was sitting with Daniel Abramson in my kitchen. You remember Daniel Abramson is no longer in the movement because of what happened here in Austin and in Texas. And Jones didn't know we were together, called us both, tried to play us off against each other. We were sitting at the same table. I mean, this kind of thing would happen over and over and over again. I found myself blackballed in the movement. One day, in 2008, just before another election, when I had spent almost all of my airtime and my expense on a broken leg, by the way, trying to warn people about Barack Obama, I was fired from every single radio station all at once. Even though they weren't owned by the same person, somehow I was off the radio altogether everywhere in one day. 2 months ago, as I'm working myself back and getting the show back on the radar here, picked up a great station, KTAE, 5,000-watt station here in Texas. I was on that station approximately 2 weeks before Alex Jones called and threatened the station to either take me off or there was going to be trouble. There was financial remunerations involved. See, I don't want to say all of this. I never wanted to say all of this. But I've finally been pushed too far, because when I have to measure the cult of personality and the cult of celebrity and a multi-million-dollar operation against freedom and liberty for Texas, I don't have a problem picking sides if I've been forced to do so. And I should have never been forced to do so. So I understand that a lot of people are very upset with me taking this position. People are going to be really upset when they hear some of the things I'm saying and will say on this broadcast today. What I'm telling you is that what comes from Alex Jones Corp is not honest. He is not an honest broker. He could care less, really, about Texas, about liberty, about the Republic, about 9/11 truth. All he cares about is controlling. Controlling Austin, which is why every single activist group here has been put down. Controlling Texas, controlling the country, controlling the world. These are the very people that if they ever take over are going to be 10 times worse than the oppressors you have now, because they have no conscience. They don't think about the damage that their actions cause. I've thought very much about what I would say today. I didn't script any of this. I'm going to play some of the clips for you. I want to put this into perspective. I'd like to get your feedback. You can call in and disagree with me. You can call in and tell me I suck. You're never going to listen to this show again. Do whatever you've got to do. For me, for years, I propped up Alex Jones. For years, I had to answer for his behavior. Make excuses for it. Now, I'm not just, a maggot out here. I'm not just somebody that, is online that listens to this stuff. I was inside. I hosted that show, okay? Many of you remember. In fact, I'm going to play a clip here in a second. I hosted the Alex Jones Show many, many, many times. In the beginning, what started all of this is that I was hosting a show, and some local 9/11 activists had gotten some video of John Kerry talking about 9/11. These were people that got out in front of the state capitol every Saturday with their signs and DVDs. They were tireless activists. I ended up hosting the Alex Jones Show that day. The conclusion at Infowars.com was that John Kerry admitted to a controlled demolition. Well, any of you can go back and look at that tape. That's not what happened. We all know that's not what happened. And I couldn't personally endorse that. That's when I got a call in the middle of the commercial break by Mrs. Alex Jones, threatening me, yelling at me, how dare I bite the hand that feeds me, I need to agree with everything on the website. And I said, look, Violet, I don't have time to go read everything on the website. I'm sorry. There are going to probably be things I just don't agree with. I mean, I have my own opinions. He was very upset with me, and I I asked, should I just leave the show right now? What should I do? No, finish the show. It was then that I figured out that they'll say anything to get hits on their website. They don't care. In fact, this whole brouhaha right now with Debra Medina is probably driving even more people over there. Probably getting record numbers of listeners and because people love to see a good fight.